Okay, Flying Pazula here today. Today we're going to discuss steep turn setup and procedure for the Cirrus SR20. The first part of the procedure is understand that this is a steep turn. It's a performance maneuver. It's going to be a complete 360-degree turn in both directions using a maximum bank of 45 degrees at maneuvering speed. So the first part of the maneuver is going to be our pre-maneuver checklist. In this plane, we're going to do our before landing checklist, which is going to be our acronym, Be My Friend Leon, which is going to be boost pump on, mixture full rich, flaps verified up, landing light is on. In the FOM as well, you can research this. It does have the maneuver setup and mixture setup for the SR20, and it says full rich for maneuvers. So once your pre-maneuver checklist is complete and you are at the applicable altitude for your performance maneuver altitude will be 1,500 feet AGL and above, we will perform our clearing turns, which is our next step. Our clearing turns we're doing to clear the area to make sure there's no traffic in the area and make sure we're safe. To do a clearing turn, we first need to set a reference point. This reference point is not only the point we start our clearing turn on, but it's also the reference point we start our maneuver on. So we'll pick a reference point, some type of prominent landmark out in front of us, a mountain, something that points out, and we're going to back up the heading bug to that by pushing the heading bug sync. We will then do our clearing turns, turning right 90 degrees. As we turn right 90 degrees, we'll be looking above and below to see any traffic. At the commencement of that 90-degree turn, we'll turn back, eventually rolling back out onto our reference point and our heading bug. We'll be at our same altitude, same airspeed, and we'll start the maneuver. So we start the maneuver, we are going to turn into the turn. As we turn into the turn, it's important that up to 30 degrees, our lift does not change that much. So with adding back pressure or putting in pressure, nothing really needs to happen there because that lift vector is still the same. When we cross 30 degrees, that is where we need to compensate for the loss of the lift by adding back pressure. In addition to adding back pressure, we're also adding drag by putting more of the leading edge into the relative wind. So by adding the back pressure and by adding the power, we're now compensating for the drag and also the loss of lift. We will then continue by establishing our 45-degree bank turn, and as we get to 45 degrees, we'll have a tendency called the overbanking tendency. I recommend you look at that in your airplane flying handbook, research what overbanking tendency is, or ask me. Once you get to the 45, you'll need to neutralize it so that it does not continue to roll past 45 degrees. You'll continue in your turn, scanning your airspeed. Airspeed is plus or minus 10 knots, PTS requirements. Altitude, plus or minus 100 knots, PTS requirements. And understanding what it takes to control a gain or a loss in altitude. If I gain altitude, I can either add forward pressure or increase my bank, taking more lift or left lift out, or just by pushing the nose down. I personally like to use a combination where I will first try to add or remove bank. Adding more lift or less lift will help me correct. When you add back pressure, you add a lot more load factor, so the changes of airspeed and altitude will be more drastic. The key there, though, is to hold yourself to your standards tight. 0, 0, 0, 0. If you correct quicker than later, your job will be easier. As we commence the turn, we're holding 45 degrees. Scanning inside and outside, remembering our PTS standards. As we roll out of the turn, we will roll out on our reference point, applying a little bit of opposite rudder, leveling the wings, reducing the power back to our normal cruise speed, and that is the completion of a steep turn. Flying Pazula here.